This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
This is It Was a Thing on TV.
Spoiler number one is Dr. Lee frowns.
It stinks.
What is going on? What is going on?
Episode 48, submission 210, Malcolm. Malcolm was an unaired pilot for NBC in 1983.
Sure is, and you know what that means? We're about to have a lot of fun together. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm dancing as fast as I can. Will you introduce me?
You got it, partner. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my good friend, Malcolm.
Hey, okay. Thank you. Oh, look at that crowd. Thank you so much. Welcome to my show. And now I'd like to introduce my good buddy and the man with all the questions, Mr. Alex Trebek. Come on out here, Alex.
Whoa. Thank you, Malcolm. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Happy to welcome all of you to our show. Yes, indeed. I'm going to call it our show, even though I realize full well that that's not my name, you see up there.
Guys, when you hear the name Malcolm in terms of a TV show, you'd think it would be probably a sitcom, maybe some person's variety show or talk show. But
I would think about Malcolm and Eddie. But yeah. Or Malcolm in the Middle.
Or Malcolm in the Middle. But would you believe that this show, Malcolm, was a game show?
What? Sorry,
Who's ever heard of a game show called Malcolm?
And what would a game show called Malcolm entail?
Well, I'm glad you asked. To begin with, Malcolm was hosted by Alex Trebek, who we've already covered, I think this is the fourth time we've covered him in 6 months. So, Alex, we love you.
I'll never forget the time he rubbed my head for good luck.
Woo!
My bald head, come on!
Greg, you do it again.
Woo!
Would you like to retract that statement?
Hell no.
Oh, I hope I get on the show just so, Trebek says, oh, and you do a podcast about television shows. What type of shows do you talk about? Oh, we talk about generally bad or short-lived or just forgotten TV shows. Have you covered any of my TV shows? Yeah, we've done 4 episodes thus far on your shows. And he's going to give you the look, and he's going to deadpan to the camera, going to the next contestant. Okay, Janice, God. you can select the next category and clue.
So Malcolm is a game show.
Malcolm is a game show, yes. Hosted by the venerable Alex Trebek. And what the key here was, there was an animated sidekick named Malcolm. And who is Malcolm? Malcolm is an animated character created using Aniform's technology.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and you can see an example of this. I believe you can see an example of this on YouTube. There was an episode, I believe, of either What's My Line or I've Got a Secret. I think it was I've Got a Secret back in 1972, where this technology is used, showing this character which looks similar but not exactly like Malcolm.
So this was basically a 1980s version of the animation technology that Homer Simpson invested in that one episode of The Simpsons.
The game itself was actually very clever. A question was read or a statement was read, and there were 2-word answers. And what happened is you had 3 players, 3 contestants. The first 2 to buzz in, depending on the order they buzzed in, gave either the first word or the second word of that statement. So if that happened, if you had 2 contestants ring in and both were right, they each got 10 points. Nice and simple. Now, where Malcolm comes into play is if one of them is wrong, both the contestants that jumped in are out of the round, and Malcolm comes into play with the third contestant, the leftover contestant that didn't buzz in, and Malcolm would give the first part of the answer. So that made it a lot easier for the person who didn't buzz in early or wasn't one of the first two to buzz in. And the idea was the first person to get 50 points won the game and stayed on the show, but also the person who helped that person get to 50 points stayed on the show as well. So it wasn't necessarily the second place person. It was the person who might have been in last place who helped the winner win. Those people stayed.
Yeah, that was referred to on the show as Malcolm's rule.
Exactly. And it's never said on the show what happens if going for it's never said what happens on the show if you have the situation with Malcolm and the person who didn't buzz in, if that person who buzzes in gets to the 50-point mark. Because technically the person who helped you out is Malcolm. Malcolm's going to be on the show regardless. Do they just bring on two new contestants? Just throwing that hypothetical out there.
Well, we'll never know.
Now that we have our champion and the returning player, we go to the bonus game. So in the bonus round, the day's winner and Malcolm played, just like we talked about earlier for the penalty type of questions, where Malcolm gives the first half and the contestant gives the second half. There's 8 categories shown on an M-shaped board. It's Malcolm's first initial, an M. Isn't that adorable?
Oh.
So what happened is you had 90 seconds, and the contestant chose a category, and you had a question in the similar 2-part fashion, and if you got it correct, you got to see what the prize underneath that category was. If you wanted to win that prize, you could answer another question in that category, or if you wanted to skip it because the prize was not something you wanted or is low valued, you can go to another category and do the same thing. Get the first one right, you'll see what the prize is. If you want to play for it, you have to answer a second question right. Otherwise, go to another category. There's a couple of catches, though. There is a $10,000 prize up there. That's the top prize in the game. But in order to claim that top prize, you need to acquire a prize before that. And it could be a good prize like a trip or a somewhat decent amount of cash, or it could be something bad like a Malcolm poster.
What the heck is a Malcolm poster? Who would want to win a poster of Malcolm?
I don't know. A person who really likes Malcolm. I don't know.
What would you do with the Malcolm poster?
I'd actually put it in the it was a thing on TV museum. It would welcome you as Professor Price and the McLean Stevenson statue greet you.
While the Superman balloon from the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is peeking its head through the side of the door.
As the Super Train model toots its horn in celebration. Yes. We're going to make this thing a real thing. Everybody's going to want to come to this museum of television oddities. But also, there's other small prizes like Malcolm boxer shorts. Who's going to wear Malcolm boxer shorts?
Somebody who's down to their last pair, obviously. Laugh now, but you know this is a legitimate response.
The Malcolm pair of boxer shorts is the emergency pair. That's the pair that tells you, oh crap, I better do a load of laundry. Oh no. The idea was in the 90 seconds, either accumulate as many prizes as you could, or if you won the $10,000, the game's over right there, and you keep what you had already won. So, best case scenario is you could get the $10,000 and maybe 2 prizes, or, at the very least, because of the rule of this game, $10,000 and 1 prize, so that's not too bad.
No.
And then after this bonus round, we continue the whole thing all over again. It's just very interesting. A couple of things I found very interesting about this show. Alex's interactions with a character that was on a TV screen. Alex was at a certain time in his life, I think, and by that I mean if you look at his shows around that time, specifically Future Installment, Battlestars and the New Battlestars, basically his pre-Jeopardy stuff, like I said, Battlestars, New Battlestars, former entry Pitfall to a small extent, where he was a little goofy. Plus also he did the same in Classic Concentration. He really sort of opened up from his semi-stodgy persona he'd have on Jeopardy. But just his interactions with this cartoon that was on a television set or a monitor, very funny, very goofy.
It was strange, especially when you consider what Alex has grown to become nowadays.
Yes, it's definitely very unusual compared to the Alex Trebek that we've seen for the last 35 or so years on Jeopardy. But it's also sort of refreshing. It shows his goofy side. It shows that he doesn't take things too seriously. Not that he takes Jeopardy overly seriously.
And let's be honest. Thank God for Alex Trebek's goofy side, right?
Oh, yes. We need that during these tough times. And as we said, this is a pilot for NBC in 1983, which makes me think this might have been a replacement for the aforementioned New Battlestars, possibly.
Well, it was made by the same company as Battlestars, you know.
Well, true, and the same host. Or it might have been possibly a replacement for something down the line, like Dreamhouse, possibly. Or maybe it might have taken the place of what would have eventually aired in the noontime slot, Hot Potato. I'm sure some people know this, and I'm sure maybe even Greg and Chico know this. Who's responsible for the Malcolm pilot?
You damn it.
You're speaking to him. You're exactly right. So what the story is around 2001, I found a video on eBay, and it was just called Alex Trebek Pilot, and I still have the videotape somewhere in my house. And I figured for $10, oh, what can I lose? Let me buy it. And I saw this, and as soon as I saw it, I had to put it online. And
you did.
And the rest is history, let's say. This is not necessarily the most liked pilot in television history. I know people like Greg, they've been ruining me for years since I posted it. Isn't that right, yeah. Greg?
Yeah, dang it. This is giving me horrors. I'm probably the person that's unleashed Malcolm on the world more than you.
You're probably right about that. Well, at least in terms of tape trading. I did put it on a website, so it's sort of kind of equal distribution there.
Yeah, blame us for this show.
Well, blame me. Don't blame Greg. Blame me most. I'm the one who found it, not Greg. He was just the unfortunate recipient of it in a tape trade.
Yeah.
But also on top of that, we've talked about the game. We talked about the bonus round. Possibly the best part of this show was the end credits.
Oh, was it ever the best part?
You're going to play the end credits now, aren't you?
All right, Malcolm. I tell you what, we're just about out of time. We're not going to have enough time to play the bonus round, I don't think. So we might as well wrap things up right here. When we come back, you know what happens. Right. Kathy plays the bonus round. Mm-hmm. Then we start a new match with Kathy, Kevin, and a new player. Oh. And I want to tell you, before we leave, I think you've done a great job today.
Aw, thanks a lot, Alex. You're not so bad yourself. I mean, what are pals for but to help each other out?
Absolutely. But I got to be honest with you. Huh? I was worried because I thought you'd be coming up a little short on the program.
Hey. Watch it with the short jokes.
I'm sorry.
I can do 20 minutes on your mustache if you give me a minute.
I bet you can. I'll tell you what, to make it up to you, why don't you and I go to lunch? And I'll pick up the tab. How's that?
Okay, good idea.
What are you going to order?
Well, I think we go across the street to the little taco stand.
You're going to order child's portions?
No.
Oh, darn
Have a couple of enchiladas, a taco
Let's say goodbye
or two.
to the folks.
Little salad.
You get your hat and coat, and we'll go to lunch. So long, everybody.
So long, everybody.
See you next time around.
Bye-bye.
Now, what are you going to order?
We was working. Oh, Jerry, the guy pushing the buttons up here. Art, big art. Okay, cool. Art. I don't get it. I don't remember all of these people. I don't remember these people. I was wondering, where did Donuts went? This was it. Oh, Jan, she's the one who feeds me those answers. That's great. Oh, I know these people. These names are familiar. Somebody write these down, quick. Don't forget. Oh, there's Jimmy. Great. The place never looked this crowded. Sure, these people just weren't on the NBC tour? Project engineer, what the heck is that? And why was Merrill's name at the beginning? He wasn't here the whole time. What?
So now, as you heard in the end credits, you had Malcolm basically giving his commentary to everybody who worked on the show and to the production itself, which also makes me wonder if this I don't want to say it would necessarily have been for fun, but obviously, as I mentioned earlier regarding Alex Trebek, it sort of poked fun at itself throughout the entirety of the game and the credits.
Yeah.
So it sort of fit in with the whole mentality of, you have Alex Trebek, who's been hosting game shows at that point for 10 years, and he's dealing with an on-screen cartoon character. But you have Malcolm commenting about the credits, and it was goofy. It was bizarre.
It was indeed.
It was goofy. It was bizarre. It was a thing on TV. Almost.
Well, it was a thing on TV if you got it through a tape trade. So that was Malcolm. That was our first entry into what's essentially going to be a month worth of pilots. We're going to talk about pilots for the entirety of April and the beginning of May, minus 2 episodes, minus 2 timely episodes. Let's just say that. They have to do with certain events that are coming up. So, taking a look at this list, oh my gosh, we've got some amazing pilots coming up.
Well, yeah, and I can learn to love that one.
There's some good pilots, there's some bad pilots, there's just some really weird pilots. 5 of the next 7 episodes are going to be about unaired pilots. And we got some good ones here. So please stick around for that.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Place to Be Nations, JT Rosero and Chad Campbell here. We want to let you know that we have over 24 podcasts available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and PlaceToBeNation.com. We now offer them to you on 2 great feeds. On the Place to Be Nation Wrestling feed, we dive into topics running the gamut from today's WWE to the glory days of yesteryear and the ins and outs of the territory days. In addition to our full-length shows, we also deliver to you special pod blasts on topics old and new.
The Place to Be Nation Pop feed is a veritable treasure trove of great content. Offer tremendous shows covering the land of movies, television, life, comics, and sports, brought to you by the most knowledgeable and insightful folks in the podcast world.
You can find all these great shows, plus archives of our past podcasts from over the past 8 years as well by subscribing to both feeds on iTunes. And while you're there, be sure to rate and leave feedback as well. All of these shows, plus others, available on PlaceToBeNation.com, where we cover pro wrestling, sports, movies, comics, plus in-depth search projects, and much more. Be sure to support our site by using www.PlaceToBeNation.com/Amazon when doing your online shopping. And we want to thank our friends at Boneheads, Wingbar, ProWrestlingOnly.com, and TheHistoryOfWrestling.com as well. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr. PlaceToBeNation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Episode 49, submission number 204, Greg the Bunny. Greg the Bunny aired on Fox and IFC from March 27th, 2002 to October 19th, 2004 for 13 episodes.
Someone say my name?
Are you a bunny?
Yes.
No.
Oh shit!
I think you could be a bunny, Greg.
You know who's not a bunny? Banoodles is not a bunny.
No, but Noodles is a good girl.
Yeah, take that, Scott Rogalski.
can sing and dance, and we don't need pants. See, we're just like you. We've got regular jobs, just with load going off. See, we're just like you. Yes, we graduate from Harvard.
Like the head of my class!
But if you take sobriety,
I ran that bad!
there's no strings attached and there's no hand of mine. We're just like you.
Just to correct what Chico said, we're only going to be covering the Fox version of Greg the Bunny. It did have life before and also after the Fox version, but we're going to strictly focus on the version that was on network television. And
Well, here's the thing about that.
Yes.
There was a 13-episode season ordered. 11 of the shows aired on Fox. The other 2 went unaired until IFC picked them up.
Or if you bought the DVD set,
Or if you bought the DVD set.
Yes.
which at least one of us has done. And yes, I'm raising my hand right now. Hey, I like Greg the Bunny.
Hey, Greg the Bunny's awesome.
Indeed. So what was Greg the Bunny?
What
It was
was
puppet.
Greg the Bunny?
Well, I'm
Let's
glad
see.
you asked. Greg the Bunny was a sitcom on Fox where puppets lived in our real world.
What? Puppets in the real world, Mike? That's silly.
But think about it. There's been a number of shows where puppets are really in the real world, and gosh, wouldn't you believe it? It makes up a whole bunch of episodes that we'll be covering sometime in the future.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
boy.
Yeah, stuff like Wonder Chosen and Late Night Liars and That Puppet Game Show and No, You Shut Up.
I was waiting for
How
no,
about-
you shut up.
I was waiting for the Muppets.
The Muppets, too. Absolutely. In this show, all the puppets, they're actually more or less like a race of people, if you will. Because they're treated differently than humans, and that's actually one of the subjects of one of the episodes is if you want to call it racism, you can, but it's not really racism because it's a puppet and it's puppetism, there's I think the number is like 3.4 million puppets living amongst us, and just by chance, there's a number of puppets who work with humans on a TV show, which is the main central focus of Greg the Bunny. They work on a TV show called Sweet Knuckle Junction.
Well, that
Yep.
just sounds nice and heartwarming and innocent.
And
Yeah.
you can't make a double entendre out of that.
You
No.
really can't.
Oh, trust me, I could. This show follows the life of Greg the Bunny and his roommate, Jimmy Bender, who happens to be played by Seth Green.
Are you talking about Cartoon Network's Robot Chicken, Seth Green?
Oh, I'm talking about Family Guy's Seth Green. You're
No.
absolutely right.
No. We're talking about Rally's ka-ching, Seth Green.
Another thing Seth Green did, and I'm putting it on the list right now. Titan Maximum.
What the hell is that?
Robot Chicken meets Voltron.
Okay.
Jimmy happens to be a production assistant on the TV show that we mentioned earlier, Sweet Knuckle Junction. And he also happens to be the son of the producer of the show, Sweet Knuckle Junction, Gil. And Gil's portrayed by the one and only Eugene Levy. What can we say about Eugene Levy? Priceless.
Oh, yes. And it's
I
very
miss
appropriate.
Schitt's Creek.
Hey,
I
it's
miss-
only been done for like a week.
Your point is?
Yeah, but it goes beyond Schitt's Creek. You've got SCTV,
Oh, yeah.
and you've got American Pie. It goes on forever with Eugene Levy. An absolute, see, I can't say American treasure, an absolute Canadian treasure.
Hey.
So we have Gil and Jimmy and Greg the Bunny. Basically the triangle of action here.
there's also another corner to this polygon, because there's the network executive, Allison Kaiser, played by Sarah Silverman.
Yes, a very young Sarah Silverman at the time.
She was
Post SNL Sarah Silverman.
Yeah, she was reasonably young. She would have been like about 31 or 32 back then. So yeah, you're right about that. I should also add, the reasonably clean at the time, Sarah Silverman.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But also on Sweet Knuckles Junction, among the humans, you had Jack Mars, who was Junction Jack. He was like the train conductor on the show, and he was also a Vietnam War veteran, and he makes mention of that in terms of, on a couple of episodes, talking about the torture he went through in Vietnam, where the Viet Cong hooked up a car battery to his genitals, and it took him like 38 hours to talk.
Oh,
he was a veteran.
Oh my God.
Kind of reminds you of Scruffy from Futurama.
A little bit, yeah. It actually looks like Scruffy a little bit. Has more lines than Scruffy, though.
Scruffy approves.
And then you had Dottie Sunshine, played by Dina Waters, and she was, oh boy, the sexual attraction on this kids show? Question mark?
This is not a kids show sort of picture.
It's for the big kids.
Yeah. By big kids, we mean the parents, and by parents, I mean the males.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, the dads are sitting watching it at 1 a.m. That's dirty.
Yeah, just a little bit. But hey, you know what this reminds me of? Miss Yvonne from Pee Wee's Playhouse.
You mean Lynn Marie Stewart, who we talked about on numerous shows in the past couple of weeks? like the cool kids and Night Stand with Dick Dietrich?
Yes.
Everything is a callback. That's what we get for getting really close to 50 episodes. Yay!
Yeah.
Hey, you should see what we have in store for number 50. I'm not saying anything.
Oh, that's going to be good.
But anyway.
Also in this universe, obviously we have puppets, and there are puppets on this show. We mentioned Greg the Bunny. And to start off with, Greg the Bunny wasn't even part of the show. He just wanted to get a chance from his friend Jimmy, because Jimmy's dad was the producer of the show, and gosh darn it, nepotism rules.
It is Hollywood,
And then other characters on the show include Warren de Montague. And Warren is an ape. Doesn't look like an ape. Looks like a stuffed dog, kind of, sort of. And his ultimate goal is to be a real actor, a Shakespearean actor. He doesn't want to be stuck playing Professor Ape on a kid's TV show for the rest of his life.
I don't blame him, because why would you want to be typecast as someone on a children's show for the rest of your life?
Yeah, like everyone who's ever been on a children's show for the rest of their lives. Jaleel White, Mark Paul Gosselaar,
Ryan Gosling on Young Hercules.
And Warren de Montague is performed by Dan Milano, and he later went on to, as Chico just mentioned, future installment Titan Maximum.
Well, that's after he put his dues in Robot Chicken.
But also, he starred in the spin-off to Greg the Bunny, possible future installment, Warren the Ape. Yes, there's a spin-off to this show, which aired on MTV very briefly 10 years ago.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Well, you said that he was in Sweet Knuckle Junction, but he doesn't see himself playing Professor Ape for the rest of his life.
Oh no, he wants to do Shakespeare. He wants to be known as a serious actor.
And apparently with a relationship with Farrah Fawcett. How does that happen?
Ooh.
How does that happen?
I don't know. He gets around that puppet.
Mm-hmm.
Next, you have maybe my favorite character on the show. I don't know about you guys, but Count Blah.
Yeah, Count Blah, probably the best character in this show.
He is awesome, blah.
Actual name is Frederick Blah. At least on the Fox show, Drew Massey was Count Blah. Drew Massey's name will be coming up later because he was part of future entries we mentioned earlier, Muppets Tonight, and No, You Shut Up.
Yeah, interesting thing about Count Blah, he's a classic case of, does this look like anything to you? Because he was a parody of course, the Count Von Count on Sesame Street.
Except much funnier.
I actually have a quote here from General Knowledge by Consensus Wikipedia. Show me another vampire, especially a puppet vampire, that was working in the mainstream industry before I came along. Suddenly I find out some bearded hippie is looking for folks to be on his new children's program, and he was looking for a vampire. Next thing I know, he's got some big OCD numerologist on the show, ugly purple skin, counting up and down. It was just disgusting, blah. He's not even Romanian, he's freaking Italian, and he knows it, blah.
I never knew Count Von Count was Italian.
I was today years old when I learned this.
Every time Count Blah speaks, he ends with blah. And at least on the first episode, there was some great dialogue between Greg the Bunny and Count Blah. Because Greg the Bunny, remember, he doesn't have a job yet. He's a nobody. And he gets starstruck when he sees Count Blah and says, oh, I've been a fan of yours for a long time, Count Blah. And, oh, thank you very much, Blah. What shall I call you? Blah, blah. Okay, blah, blah. No, blah, blah. Okay, blah, blah. I enjoyed it.
You enjoyed it, blah.
Next up, I apologize for this name. I'm just saying that in advance. 2002 was a slightly different time. Don't give us letters. The next character's name is Tardy Turtle, and it's not because he's always late.
Oh.
Yeah. And Tardy Turtle is just a little slow. And here's where we go to confessional in the morning.
Hey, Mike. Do you think Tardy Turtle knows Bobo?
Oh, no.
You know what? Here are some examples of some tardyisms. Crayons taste like purple. The green ones make me horny. Drumsticks could also be chicken.
Beautiful callback by Greg to episode 2, Mr. Smith. Bobo reference. Didn't see that.
Yeah.
Oh, that was beautiful.
And by the way, turns out he graduated from Harvard, so very, very savantish, perhaps?
Yes.
Yes, and actually you hear that in the opening, which you heard obviously at the start of the show. He actually says, puppets can graduate from Harvard at the head of my class. That's what he says.
Not head of the class.
Head of my class, yes.
Yes.
And Tardy Turtle was voiced by Victor Yared, who actually portrayed a number of characters on this show. But also, at least maybe in my mind, most popularly, who did Victor Yared portray on, again, future installment that we've already talked about a few times in this episode?
And I'm the Weasel!
He portrayed the Weasel on Late Night Liars. Who didn't enjoy the Weasel?
Woo, Weasel.
I'm the Weasel!
I'm the Weasel!
You know who wasn't a fan of the Weasel? Bobby Heenan.
Oh, jeez. Oh, my God.
I'm the weasel. Anyway.
Oh, my gosh. Also on the show, you had life-size monsters who were technically puppets, obviously, like Susan Monster, who is very similar to life-size creatures you would have seen on Sesame Street or the Muppets, like Big Bird, or who's the one that you had mentioned, Chico?
Sweetums! Woo!
And Susan Monster was, well, different. Let's say that.
How different are we talking?
First, the voice is definitely not a stereotypical feminine voice. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But also, Susan has a habit of eating stray cats, which makes me wonder if Susan is maybe directly related to Alf.
Perhaps, maybe? I don't know.
But also in one of the episodes, Susan plays a critical role, actually being essentially girlfriend to Jimmy. Jimmy dated a puppet. You also had Rochester Rabbit, again also played by James Murray, who was on Sweet Knuckle Junction for a long time, but then lost his job to Greg the Bunny. On one episode, Rochester is seen selling maps to the stars' homes, and Greg actually gets him to go back on the show. Greg feels guilty. Rochester goes back on the show, does a little song and dance, and wouldn't you know it, at this time when Rochester is having the time of his life, boom, he drops dead of a heart attack.
Oh, no.
Oh, when we get to that episode, there were a couple of good episodes. This is one of those 2 or 3 episodes that is like the funniest among the ones that I saw. But again, we'll get to that later. And then you had a character, again, performed by Victor Yared called Cranky.
Who's Cranky?
He's just cranky. I mean, he's a crew member who's just cranky. Apparently, he was the Cavity Goon on
The Adventures of Timmy the Tooth.
Never even heard of that.
Oh, that was a VHS series. Oh, in fact, a lot of the props for this show, Greg the Bunny, were reused from The Adventures of Timmy the Tooth.
Now that I see a picture, I know exactly who Cranky is. And yes, Cranky is Cranky.
So Cranky's Cranky.
Cranky's Cranky, yes. Well, as we said at the start, there's 13 episodes of this run, the Fox run, that were produced. 11 aired on Fox, 2 aired on IFC, and were on the DVD set. And we're going to go through those in order. And the first episode is Welcome to Sweet Knuckle Junction. Greg goes in for an assistant's job at Sweet Knuckle Junction and walks out with a starring role after Rochester Rabbit is let go from the production.
This would be the same Rochester Rabbit who has, died of a heart attack? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
No, you're right, but don't spoil it. We'll get to it in a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And in this episode, which is pretty much like the pilot episode, there were a number of cameo appearances. You had David Spade making a cameo when Greg arrives at the network. And then Jeffrey Ross also made a cameo as a security guard at the studio. So you already had a couple of big names just from the start. And it was a very heartwarming episode. Greg the Bunny got his job. He's living his dream. And everything is all hunky-dory. And then we get to episode 2. Aired episode 2. We should say this is aired episode 2. It was actually the 4th one produced. SK 2.0. When the show bombs with a children's focus group, Allison plans changes, and Jimmy's idea for an updated version of Sweet Knuckle Junction called SK 2.0 just might be the trick, like use for a green screen, Greg the Bunny becoming G the Bee, Count Blah becoming Count Ait, Warren portraying Prof Meister Ape, making Junction Jack a cyborg called Cybo Jack, and Dottie showing off her sex appeal.
Ooh.
Oh, just you wait till we get to future episodes, my friend.
There's no way that this is going to fail. No way at all.
Well, it doesn't help that Count Blah, or I'm sorry, Count Ait, can't pronounce his name. What do you mean? I'm Count Aigit. No, you're Count Ait. Aigit. He's pronouncing A-I-G-H-T as it really, looks. Aigit. No, it's Ait. Like everything's all right. Like everything's Ait. Right, Chico? How's everything? Ait?
Ait.
That's the right answer. And no, it doesn't end well. Do you know why it doesn't end well?
Why doesn't it end well, Mike?
Well, besides the fact that, it's all technology based, it's a green screen. But they showed a children's focus group, maybe the same focus group that saw it earlier, this new SK 2.0. And guess what happened with all the flashing colors, the green screen, the quick motions? You had children having seizures. And right at the end of the show, as Jimmy's walking with Greg the Bunny away from the studio, what do you see? You see EMSs pulling up to save the kids who are having seizures.
Oh.
Well, I mean, that was a time that was sort of popular. I mean, that was about 5 years later, but remember the whole Pokemon thing back in like 97, 98.
Yeah, in Japan, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, episode 3, which is actually production episode number 11, so they're really hopping around here. Jewel Heist. Greg is jealous when Jimmy gets a new love interest named Chelsea, played by Lindsay Sloan, whose dog Winston is quite aggressive to Greg. Meanwhile, Allison, Dottie, and Susan revolt when Gil doesn't invite them to a paintball weekend with an intense instructor, played by David Koechner.
This is when you realize that all of a sudden, this doesn't make any sense.
Well, no, it does make it makes a little bit of sense because, at least from my experience with dogs, they love puppets and chew toys. And guess what Greg the Bunny looks like, probably in a dog's eye? A giant chew toy.
True.
Unfortunately, I didn't see this episode, but I believe when it first ran, I believe Greg the Bunny got chewed up, well, let's say in his baby daddy region.
Ooh.
And I seem to remember that he needed a lot of stitches down there.
Oh.
Well, I mean, I'm just being honest. Again, when you give a dog a chew toy like that, a puppet or something, it's going to beat the hell out of it. So I'm not surprised that, well, Greg the Bunny's not going to have any babies anytime soon. I'm sorry. I didn't know how to break it. But then we get to episode 4, and this one was a little weird. Greg gets puppish. Production number 9. So they're really, again, showing these out of order. Herbata Jimena orders Greg to familiarize himself with puppish culture to the detriment of the show. Greg is later asked by Herbata to speak at the National Puppet Convention. This is not unlike, let's say, the conversion of Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali in the 60s, or Malcolm Little to Malcolm X. Greg the Bunny is sort of recruited in a similar manner, because, again, remember, puppish or being a puppet is essentially like a different race or religion or lifestyle than a human lifestyle. So you had Herbata Jimena, who runs this essentially cult. He convinced Greg the Bunny to change his name, and once Greg the Bunny did this, he became very difficult to work with because he'd wear a certain outfit which just didn't mesh with what the TV show expected of him, and he refused to take off his garb, and it just made for a very difficult work environment. But then ultimately things came to a head when Herbata Jimena said to Greg the Bunny in a native language, you need to leave your friend Jimmy, your roommate. You need to live on your own. You need to show your puppet capable of living and surviving on your own without having a human assist you. And that's where Greg drew the line. He said, you know what? I'm not playing that game. I'm going back to using Greg the Bunny as my name, not my native puppish name. And I'm not leaving my friend Jimmy behind. And then the show turned back to normal.
So this is one of those shows in which, there is like an overall sort of arc to it, but at the end of the day, every problem is solved in 30 minutes.
Well, every problem except Greg the Bunny apparently lost his puppish identity.
Yeah.
And then we get to episode 5, The Singing Mailman. And this actually was episode 12 in production order, so now we're getting like really out of whack. Dottie is blackmailed by a Goodwill worker named Leo Cornely, who was played by Michael McDonald of Mad TV fame, who has a dirty tape of her doing something sexual to MC Hammer's You Can't Touch This, upon finding it in a box of junk that she gave him. Woo! Yeah. Leo plans to post it on the internet if she can't get him a role on Sweet Knuckle Junction. Hooray, blackmail. After telling Greg about it, Dottie works to get Gil to cast Leo as the singing mailman on Sweet Knuckle Junction. After Gil fires Leo for the mess-up, Greg tells Jimmy, Jack, Count Blah, Warren, and Tardy about Dottie's plight, causing them to take action to get the tape back. Meanwhile, Gil and Allison deal with the hamster puppets going on strike when they have been denied a couch for their hamster wheel. How much would a couch for a hamster wheel be? $5. Come on.
You could make one of those things, man.
Yeah. This was before the maker movement, though.
True. This is before the maker movement. Like, 10 years before the maker movement?
Probably at least 8 or 9.
There you go.
And then next we have Rabbit Redux, episode 6, which actually is episode 6 in the production order. Go figure. Greg feels guilty for stealing Rochester Rabbit's job on Sweet Knuckle Junction after having recurring nightmares of Rochester Rabbit burying him alive. That's where they go looking for Rochester Rabbit, and he's selling maps to the stars' homes. So Greg wants to patch things up when Rochester Rabbit dies of a heart attack during the musical number for the Thanksgiving episode of Sweet Knuckle Junction. Greg feels down about it as everyone holds a memorial service for him, which also doubles as a roast. Meanwhile, Jimmy wants to score with Allison and does this by flirting with Susan Monster that we talked about earlier. So these are 2 separate plot lines we mentioned earlier merging in this one episode. And Greg felt so bad about Rochester dying, and he felt that roasting Rochester Rabbit instead of giving a proper dignified funeral or a dignified eulogy was just the wrong way to go. But everybody was having a great time at Rochester's expense. Kind of interesting. They had an open casket funeral, and you could see Rochester Rabbit, deceased, in the casket, but in his mouth he had a lit cigar.
What a way
Why
to go.
Why does a dead rabbit have a lit cigar in his mouth?
Does this look like anything to you?
Well, what ultimately happened is Rochester Rabbit caught on fire at the end of the episode.
Oh, no!
That's not good.
Who wants Hassenpfeffer? Nobody? Okay.
No. Episode 7 is Surprise. It's actually the 10th produced episode. Allison tries to fool a TV Guide reporter named Laura Carlson, played by Sasha Alexander, into believing that the cast is a happy, functional family in hopes of getting on the cover. While throwing a surprise party for Jack, Greg finds out that Laura has a crush on Allison.
Ooh!
Just got hot in here all of a sudden.
Oh, you don't know hot, brother. We'll get to that in a second.
It's getting hot in here.
Yeah, Sasha Alexander of Dawson's Creek fame. How she got into this show, I'll never know.
No.
And then we get to episode 8, production episode 7, Father and Son Reunion. Father-son relations between Jimmy and Gil are damaged when Gil doesn't tell Jimmy that his parents' marriage is over when he encounters his mom, Sandy, played by Julie Haggerty, making out with Jimmy's old gym teacher, Coach Don Dinkins, played by Charles Rocket, outside the coffee house. Meanwhile, Warren starts his one-man show. Oh my gosh, those actors in this episode, Julie Haggerty and Charles Rocket, did we just take a time machine back to 1980?
Oh, yeah.
We just might have.
Julie Haggerty from Airplane and Charles Rocket from future installment, the 6th season of Saturday Night Live.
And not to mention future installment Tequila and Benetti, and not to mention future installment The Home Court, which is not on the list, but it's going to be after this episode.
Not to mention future installment that's not on the list, but will be after this episode, Steel Collar Man.
Don't mind us for doing more behind-the-scenes work during the show. Oh, but we could do like a whole couple of weeks or a month devoted to Charles Rocket. That's brilliant. I like it.
Yeah, we're going to finally give Charles Rocket his due, damn it.
We are? I mean, sure we are.
Does he really deserve it after what he did on SNL?
Well, come on, he was in Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah. All I could say is he's totally method.
Well, if Charlene Tilton didn't shoot him, he wouldn't be that famous.
True.
Well, that is true.
It's very true, absolutely. I make a good point every now and then.
Oh, of course you do.
And then that takes us to episode 9, production episode 5, Piddler on the Roof. I gotta say, that's a great name for an episode right there, Piddler on the Roof. Believing that Allison won't let him do Shakespeare on the show, an angry Warren takes a leak in her open convertible.
Oh!
That's why it's Piddler on the Roof. Her sunroof is open, and Warren takes a big steamy piss in it.
Who opens a sunroof?
Well, maybe who forgets to close their sunroof is a better question. And then Warren auditions to play Claudius to Gary Oldman's Hamlet. And believe it or not, Warren gets the role to play Claudius to Gary Oldman's Hamlet. And he's ready to leave the show saying, ha ha, suckers, I got my job. I'm going to do Shakespeare. And Allison says, no, you're not. We've got a contract, or, we talked to your agent, and she said, no, you're sticking on Sweet Knuckle Junction.
Okay. That is your Hollywood story. Your true Hollywood story.
And Greg the Bunny, who knew this innocent little bunny could get drunk? Because this little bunny got wasted on tequila, and he was the only person to see Warren peeing in Allison's car.
Yep.
And Warren kept saying, no, you were drunk. You were hungover. That wasn't me. And Greg kept on saying, no, I saw you. I might have been drunk, but I wasn't that drunk. We've all been there. No, we haven't all been there. I haven't been there.
True.
Yeah, I don't drink, so I wouldn't know.
There you go.
I am not a drinker either.
You are pleading the fifth, and we're moving on to episode 10.
I like to plead the fifth of Jack.
Yeah, you plead the fifth and you drink a fifth. And we go to episode 10, the final episode in production order, Blah Balls. Warren can't get over his ex-wife Maggie, played by Mary Lou Henner, and Count Blah can't get over his dead wife Maldora Blah, until he meets Maggie. Oh, no good can come out of this.
You know what? There's absolutely nothing wrong that can happen.
No.
Absolutely nothing wrong that can happen.
Not at all. Meanwhile, Allison is being stalked and suspects Jack upon telling him that he can't play the hooker-killing conductor, Locomotive Louie, in the upcoming horror film Helping Hand Station. And Greg is dead.
I know what that means.
Helping Hand Oh!
Multiple entendre.
I think we just turned into triple entendre.
Hey, guys, I got a question. You think Robert Kraft has ever been to Helping Hand Station?
Oh, jeez!
Oh! Next episode! And this was actually the last episode that Fox aired, but it's the third one that was produced. Episode 11, Dottie Heat. After doing a duet with Dottie by singing the friendship song when Marty the skunk got food poisoning, Greg develops a crush on Dottie. All together now. 1, 2, 3. Ooh. Dottie is later crushed when she overhears Greg lying to the gang and tells them that he did the nasty with her. Meanwhile, Jimmy finds that Allison is dating another man. At the same time, Count Blah plays a game of cards with Jack Warren, the Jamaican guy, a puppet dog, and an unnamed human crew member.
Yeah, Greg did get a little crush on Dottie, and Greg went to Dottie's apartment. And generally when men go to Dottie's apartment, let's just say they get lucky. But Greg the Bunny, he's a very timid, innocent fellow. He went over there, and there was a little bit of cuddling, and they were watching TV in bed, but nothing happened. But the way that Greg phrased it to the gang on the staff, oh, well, we're in bed, and I shot her in the face with a Nerf gun.
Oh.
I just wanted to, clear the air on that. And they
we don't need letters, yeah.
And they also broke her bed because they were jumping on the bed and the bed collapsed, not because,
Multiple entendre.
Just basically a lot of double entendres.
And mistaken nuances, as it were.
And the thing is, Dottie came by while Greg was telling everybody this, and she thought that Greg was claiming they had relations, let's say. When that wasn't the truth. It's just, that's how it sort of came out. That's because of Greg's innocent little mind.
True.
And then the first episode that aired on IFC over 2 years after it was canceled was the second episode produced, Sock Like Me. During Puppet History Month, somebody writes the S word in the insultive message about Greg the Bunny in the men's room. Oh, the S word, by the way, is sock. So apparently, sock is a racist term in puppish, or puppetish, or however you want to phrase it.
In puppish.
Yeah, well, however you want. Puppish sounds like you're talking about puppy dogs. But yeah, however you want to phrase it.
That would be puppy-ish.
Fair enough. To keep her superiors from retaliating, Allison forces the human and puppet staff to undergo puppet sensitivity training overseen by Dr. Aben Mitchell. And it's just like any sort of corporate sensitivity training or corporate training. It's very boring. People don't want to be there. But it's all for the greater good because you don't want a lawsuit. But yeah, the S word is sock, and that's very derogatory to puppets, apparently.
No bueno.
No bueno.
NG, no good.
And actually, what it turns out is who wrote that insultive message about Greg the Bunny on the wall? Greg the Bunny did. Why?
What?
No, he did. He did. Here's the reason why. Because he was in the men's bathroom and saw other disparaging things about other people on the staff, both male and female, and human and puppish. And he felt left out because there was nothing on the wall about him. So he decided to write this about himself, saying that, he's just a dirty old sock and that he ought to kill himself or something in that regard.
Wow.
Yeah. And he thought that would make him one of the cool kids, if you will.
That's another episode, Mike.
That was a previous episode, I know. And what ultimately happened is people blamed it on Junction Jack, and they wanted Junction Jack to take the fall, and when he wouldn't, and this goes back to the whole battery hooked up to my genitals for 38 hours in Nam, he was not going to squeal. And he was not going to admit to anything that he didn't do. So everybody goes to sensitivity training. Then Greg says, "Oh, I did it because I wanted to be popular." What a naive little kid. And then the last episode, and this, oh my gosh, this is a hilarious episode. It's the last episode on the DVD, on the second DVD of the set. It's production episode 8, Jimmy Drives Gil Crazy. Sit back, Greg. I know you're going to like this.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Well, you're going to like it too, but Greg, I think, is going to like it more. Jimmy feels unloved when Gil yells at him about what a production assistant is supposed to do, because Jimmy forgot to take a tape of the show to post-production or something like that. While going to clean up poop in the back of Warren's house, because he was doing some errands for Warren, Jimmy stumbles upon a teenager named Amy, played by Alicia Lee Willis, skinny dipping in Warren's swimming pool, and uses Warren's house to impress her. While sleeping in Warren's car, which was loaned to Jimmy, Greg meets Corey Feldman, who is annoyed with having Warren as his bad neighbor, and takes his car, which leads to a police chase.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I got to appreciate the fact that they got Corey Feldman in this episode.
Oh, this was a great episode. You had Jimmy borrowing Warren's car to go to Warren's house to do errands, to do chores, to clean up dog poop, among other things. And here's this naked lady in the swimming pool. And Jimmy said, Jimmy asked, "What are you doing?" And she said, "Oh, I'm skipping school today." "You're skipping school?" "Yeah, I'm a high school student." Oh, big red flag. Naked high school student in the pool. But,
however,
it was her 18th birthday. So lucky for Jimmy, she's an adult. Still disgusting, but still an adult.
Oh, okay. That's a relief.
Yeah, it's a big relief, especially when they go in Warren's house and she ends up making a sex tape with Jimmy. She ends up putting him in her schoolgirl outfit and tying him to a coffee table and basically torturing him. Meanwhile, the whole time, Greg is asleep in the car, and here comes Corey Feldman, frequently mistaken in this episode for Corey Haim, a good callback to, when they were big back in the 80s and 90s.
Well, nowadays, Mike, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
All I could say is this episode.
I thought you were going to talk about Corey Haim, that drugs are bad.
Corey Haim, drugs are bad.
Yeah.
Shouldn't do drugs, okay?
So Corey Feldman stole Warren's Mercedes and took it on a joyride. And actually, he just wanted to move the car a little bit just to hide it from Warren. But unfortunately, he went through a stop sign in front of a cop. And next thing you know, it's the friggin' OJ chase. They're going down the freeways of Los Angeles, 3 or 4 cop cars behind them. And while this is happening on TV, because again, it's Los Angeles, so it's got to be on TV.
Channel 5, probably.
It was actually Channel 6. It was a made-up channel, I believe.
Okay.
And while this is happening, since it's on TV, the entire crew of Sweet Knuckle Junction is watching it, and Gil is flipping out. Oh my gosh, my son is going to be going to jail for some time because he stole this car and is on a police chase. Meanwhile, Jimmy is tied up and gets back to the studio to everybody's amazement. Oh, you're not the person behind the wheel. Well, who the heck is behind the wheel? And lo and behold, where does the police chase end? Right by the TV studio, amazingly enough. And there's Corey Feldman getting arrested, but gets some sort of relief from Gil when Gil says, "Oh, son, I know I've been treating you bad. I love you, and you deserve better in life." And that gives Corey Feldman some sense of redemption. It was just a funny episode.
Sounds
definitely,
like it was.
definitely look for it. I know there's a number on YouTube. I didn't see if that one's on YouTube, but if it is, yes, you got to watch that one. I wish that would have aired on Fox. That was probably one of the 2 episodes I enjoyed watching the most. But also, something I noticed, and maybe it's just me, just in my tendencies to over notice things. Greg the Bunny had 2 different types of eyes in this series. He had button eyes, and then in other episodes, he had eyes that looked like marbles.
So from button eyes to marble eyes?
Yeah.
Let me take a look at this. This is one of those cases where we wish this was a video podcast, but
Yeah, in the first episode, Greg has button eyes. On later episodes, it was either Piddler on the Roof or on Jimmy Drives Gil Crazy. Greg has marble eyes.
Oh God, I can totally see it.
Yeah. I mean, once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's like, where did his button eyes go? He's got marble eyes now. But also, that gave Greg the Bunny, the puppet, the ability to emote more by, like lowering his eyes. Sometimes I think he blinked. So it gave him a little more emotion than just button eyes, where you can't really wink. Yeah, there wasn't anything built in for that. So maybe he got an upgrade because, again, episode 1 was the pilot. So maybe when they found out they were going to series, he got an upgrade on his eyes. He got plastic surgery, if you will.
That makes sense.
Plus, also, again, maybe it's just me, and I'm sure Chico would notice this for sure.
No, I'm looking at pictures, and I see the 2 types of eyes. I see the button-eyed Greg, and then later on, I see the glass-eyed Greg.
Right. And something else that I noticed, and I think you would notice, and Greg would notice, is during one of the episodes, Jimmy is at home playing video games, and wouldn't you believe it, they combined 3 systems into one here.
What?
How?
You can see Jimmy holding a Nintendo 64 controller. Meanwhile, the video game he's playing is Simpsons Road Rage. Oh, Network Synergy, Simpsons Road Rage on Fox. And I'm guessing it was probably either for like the PS2 or maybe the GameCube.
Yeah, it was also on Xbox, too.
Okay. But it definitely was not on N64. I know that much.
Definitely.
But also the sound effects coming from the video game, the typical Atari 2600 Pac-Man sound effects you'd hear kind of often. Why would a video game from 2002 be making sound effects from an Atari 2600 game from 1982?
That's just a whole lot of stock video game noises.
Yeah, I mean it's just the the sound when Pac-Man eats the power pellet and when he dies in the Atari 2600 version. Just generic video game sounds that you wouldn't hear on anything in 2002, let alone 1992.
Go figure, eh?
Yeah, it's interesting what you notice when you watch these shows and have a particular eye for details.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of details, aside from the shorts that aired on IFC in 2005 and 2006. This would not be the last we see of Greg the Bunny.
Oh?
Yeah. Apparently, he was on an episode of Duel Masters, the episode Kokujo Strikes Back. He was portrayed as the world's second best duelist. Not Duel Monsters, Duel Masters. This is another duelist sort of show here.
And also, footage of Greg the Bunny has been seen in Sean Baker's movies Starlet and the 2017 critically acclaimed movie The Florida Project.
Plus, also, we should note that the production company behind this, or one of the production companies behind this, is Stephen Levitan Productions. And again, we mentioned earlier that Eugene Levy, his show Schitt's Creek just came to an end. Go find it if you have never seen it. It's worth it. But also, Stephen Levitan just had a show which ended. Was it the same night, Wednesday, or did
Yeah,
Schitt's
it was the
Creek
same
end on
night.
Tuesday?
It was
the same night. Modern Family ended. So literally,
Wow.
when you had Schitt's Creek ending, you had Modern Family ending. Two great shows.
Yep.
It's just an interesting little side note that Stephen Levitan was behind Greg the Bunny and also Modern Family, but also two entries that we've talked about that are coming in the future, Stacked and LA to Vegas.
And Oliver Bean. Is that on the list?
Why not add it? I don't know if it is, but you might as well add it. We can.
If it ain't on the list, it should be.
Yeah, we can look at that stuff later on. Absolutely. Well, Chico, is there anything else you need to say about Greg the Bunny?
He was an innocent little bunny trapped in a world he didn't create. Unfortunately, because this is Fox, the only thing I could say about Greg the Bunny, it was the thing on TV.
Yes, it was. Well, guys, before we go, I'm going to play a new segment, and I'm calling it, and I apologize because I know this is taken from at midnight. We're going to play eBay Price is Right. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to tell me the highest price that Greg the Bunny on DVD has sold for on eBay in the last 3 months. You can go to the nearest penny. You don't have to go to the nearest dollar. And you just want to be closest without going over. And I'm going to go to Greg first because, well, his name is part of the title of this show.
Okay.
Greg, what do you think is the highest price paid for a Greg the Bunny DVD on eBay in the last 3 months?
$15.
$15. Okay. And Chico, are you going to be a D-bag and penny him, or are you going to do something else?
Mike, you know I'm going to be a D-bag. Why did you even go through the trouble of asking me? But I'm actually going to go $16.
Oh, you're giving him a dollar window. Oh, was that a good move?
What can I can't help it. I've been raised too well.
Oh. Well, the highest price the Greg the Bunny series on DVD is sold for, and this happened on March 9th, was $24.99. Chico wins.
Look at that. Look at that.
But also, I should throw out the next highest one, and it looks like this sold on March 30th. It looks like it sold for $10. So why somebody would pay $25 when it looks like $10 might be about the highest going rate, I don't know, but it ain't my money. That's all I know. And then, in case you're curious, prices went as low as 99 cents on January 23rd. So if you want Greg the Bunny, you can get it for anywhere between $1 and $25. Just don't be that person that pays $25 for it.
Nobody likes to be that person.
And that was this installment of eBay Price is Right.
Hello, everybody. It's Greg here at It Was a Thing on TV, and I'm here to tell you about all the cool things going on Place to Be Nation Pop right now. And in our latest episodes here on the Place to Be Nation Pop feed that just dropped, on the third installment of Pop Goes to the Classics, they look at the Disney animated movie Fantasia from 1940. Andy Afferton and Miranda Berthold discussed many aspects of the film, including the different animation styles, the plushes, and the minisues of each of the 7 parts, how the animators visualized the music, the characters that are clear inspirations for later movies, the legacy of the Sorcerer's Apprentice, the adult themes of some of the pieces, the scenes a bit too scary for younger kids, and whether or not it holds up today. And in a special isolation edition of Laugh-In Theater, Andy Afferton was joined by Sean Kidd to do a live watch of the 1984 comedy Police Academy. The guys discussed the talents of Larval Jones, Punky Brewster's dad George Gaines, who we'll be talking about later on this year in a special episode of Punky Brewster on our podcast, so stay tuned for that. The Goot, of course, Steve Gutenberg, Swagger Sticks, the ne'er-do-wells of 80s comedies, Tackleberry, stripping by the campfire, fake accents, podiums, doing the quote-unquote walk of shame, the problem solver Mahoney, and old TVs. So if we make you sick, it's okay. We make everyone sick. And in regular Laugh-In Theater, on the 21st episode of Laugh-In Theater, Andy was joined by Ray Corsillo of Geeks Who Like Sports to do a live watch of the 1988 movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The guys discuss sexy cartoon characters, quality mind work, Bob Hoskins' incredible performance, Toon Logic, extreme method acting, the scenes too traumatic for little kids, horrible LA drivers, audio animatronic stand-ins, traffic in Los Angeles, and laughing to death. So remember to take your hand off the cuff only when it's funny. Make sure you shake the weasels. And is that a rabbit in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? And while you're at it, be sure to check out the PTPN wrestling feed, which includes a dive into topics running the gamut from the day's WWE through yesteryear. The feed includes the Place to Be podcast, main event, Jenny and the Gems, Body Pressure Lock, PTB NXT, and so much more. Subscribe today. And while you're at it, subscribe to Jennifer Smith's The Jenny Position feed as well. It's the home of Geek and Sassy, Talkin' Pop, Freak Out Drive-In, Telling Stories, the Murphy Sister Rewatch podcast, and more. Also check out the new North-South Connection, brought to you by JT Rosero and Chad Campbell. It's the new home for Wrestling Warzone, No Holds Barred, Extreme 3-Way Dance, Jeff Owens Wrestling, and more. And we have officially kicked off our 2020 stretch project determining the greatest WCW match ever. You have all year to do research, promote matches, and build your list. Conversation and rules can be found at www.facebook.com/GWCW matches or on the Pro Wrestling Only message board. And be sure to check out PlaceToBeNation.com each and every day. We have new voices and fresh takes, breaking articles on topics in the world of wrestling, sports, and pop culture, including Trent's SmackDown on Fox Report, This Week in the WWE by John Crow, Always Perspective, Jason's DVD Deep Dive, and Ben's Unpopular Opinion. And don't forget about veteran columns like Glenn Butler's Wednesday Walk Around the Web. And if you're doing online shopping at Amazon.com, be sure to click on the Amazon banner on the right side of the Place to Be Nation homepage, or use www.placetobenation.com/Amazon. It takes you right to Amazon, and it helps out PTBN at no cost to you. Okay, so we're on our final topic of the day here on It Was a Thing on TV. And, well, what better than to talk about something that we've probably all seen here on Place to Be Nation, the 1990 Jesse Ventura, Roddy Piper pilot tag team. Enjoy, and we've even included in this review reviews of all the commercials that were featured on the pilot. Yes, so you get something extra along with seeing Roddy and Jesse as cops. So enjoy our final topic of the day, tag team.
Episode 50, Submission 590, Tag Team. Tag Team was an unsold pilot that aired on ABC the night of January 26, 1991. Well, guys, we've talked about one entry related to wrestling, and we have done one episode kind of sort of related to wrestling. I mean, we are on the Place to Be Nation. They do have a wrestling feed. So, I mean, it is appropriate that we talk wrestling on this show. And it's for our 50th episode. I thought this would be the perfect episode for our series on unsold pilots. Tag Team.
What does a rap group from the 90s have to do with wrestling?
Oh, Chico.
Oh, Chico.
I had to.
Okay. Well, Tag Team stars probably, I guess, other than the Hulkster, probably the two biggest mainstream stars of the WWF in the boom of the mid-1980s for professional wrestling, Roddy Piper and Jesse the Body Ventura.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, this was, and not only big wrestling stars, but also big action stars in their own right. Jesse Ventura was, of course, in Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Roddy Piper was in They Live, which would be like 2 years before this.
Yeah, well, They Live was 88, so yeah, that you're kind of in the right range there. But yeah, Jesse and Roddy were probably like two of the biggest mainstream stars, and I got a fun trivia fact for you guys. Now,
Okay.
it's always been well known, at least it's a common misconception, that Jesse Ventura was the first ever heel color commentator in professional wrestling. Do you know who the first heel commentator in professional wrestling actually was?
Who would that be?
Roddy Piper.
Really?
Yes, Roddy Piper was the heel color commentator for Gordon Soley for Georgia Championship Wrestling on WTBS around 1981 to 82.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
Well, also, we should give credit where credit's due. Jesse Ventura also went on in the same year, 1991, to be host on future installment, The Grudge Match.
Yes! The Grudge Match with Steve Albert.
Oh, that's going to be a fun episode to do.
Oh, yes, it will. But so as I mentioned, this was an unsold pilot that aired in January of 91. This was burned off by ABC the night before Super Bowl 25.
Which you may recall had the epic national anthem by Whitney Houston, which actually we're going to talk about in a future installment about good and bad national anthems. But also that was the game where Scott Norwood was just wide right.
Yes, as we mentioned in previous entry, the Bud Bowl.
Yes, we did.
Uh-huh.
So this show, and we'll talk about what happened with this show later, but this was very, very close to becoming a series. In fact, as the episode, I think, was in production, or the pilot was in production or out of just done with production, at WrestleMania 6, when Roddy Piper was facing Bad News Brown, as Roddy came into the ring dressed half black. It's a long story. I don't want to go over that angle with Bad News Brown on this podcast, okay? But I just want to mention that as Roddy comes to the ring, Jesse says to Gorilla Monsoon, I cannot be biased in this match. I got to root for Roddy because that's my tag team partner up there. Get it?
Uh-huh.
A little foreshadowing.
Yes. Yes. So, here we go. We begin this pilot of Tag Team. Oh, wait a minute. Hold up. Before we start talking about the pilot, on the YouTube clip, we see 5 seconds of Twin Peaks because it's been preempted that night. Because it's airing in its place. And this would have been between episodes 21 and 22 of Twin Peaks. This would have been the episode right when Leo Johnson awakes from his coma. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, by the way, guys, Twin Peaks post Laura Palmer's murder in Season 2 is a future entry.
Yeah. In other news, Greg likes Twin Peaks.
Yes, I'll have any excuse to talk about Twin Peaks on this podcast.
We'll find plenty of excuses for him to talk about Twin Peaks.
Yes. Okay, so we start in the ring. We have an announcer who's overdubbed by Mean Gene Okerlund.
Which doesn't really make any sense, but whatever.
And you see shots in the crowd. You see one guy in the crowd with like a Los Angeles Lakers jacket. And you see one guy in the crowd with a Bartman t-shirt.
Yes, I was just going to say that.
This was peak 1991.
Yeah, I mean, this is peak 1990 right here. Somebody was wearing a Bartman t-shirt. I'm surprised that the network didn't try, like, censoring it somehow since you're promoting another network. Yes.
Well, it's 1990. I don't think blurring technology is
they didn't have the technology to do that.
Well, still, I mean, they could have cut it out or put in somebody else because it looked like all the footage of the wrestling match, or at least the audience, was stock footage or stock-like footage.
So we're introduced to the tag team of Billy Youngblood, played by Jesse, and Rick McDonald, played by Roddy. And so a young fan comes sneaking into the ring while Jesse and Roddy are practicing some wrestling moves. And I guess you'd consider him like the 1991 equivalent of a smart wrestling fan, because he asks them, what happened to the Lizard Brothers? Billy replies, the Lizard Brothers are ancient history.
The Lizard Brothers being the former name of the tag team.
Yes.
And there's a little, maybe you want to call it Easter egg, maybe not, that I'll talk about near the end of the show.
All right. So then we get, after the young fan gets his autograph, we have the promoter coming in with his wife. And the promoter's wife is played by whom?
Shannon Tweed.
Shannon Tweed.
Yes. Anything to say?
Shannon Tweed's a bitch in this show.
Oh, yeah, she is.
She's about to ruin 2 careers. 3 if you count Gene Simmons.
Oh. But yeah.
And she wasn't a bitch before she went on Match Game Hollywood Squares. Just saying.
Yeah.
It all comes back to Match Game Hollywood Squares. Anyway.
It's always something about a show we previously covered.
Yes.
So, her character, Leona, she wants our boys to take a fall.
Because, guys, this is 1991. We haven't established that wrestling is totally a work yet.
Guess what they do?
They decide to win the match.
Oh, yeah.
We should also note who the manager was of their opposition, the Samurai Brothers.
Oh, it was Mr. Fuji, baby.
Wait, you mean Mr. Fuji from future installment Fuji Vice?
Oh, yes, that Mr. Fuji. Although, sadly, he did not have his top hat and cane.
He wasn't Mr. Fuji. That just makes him. Instead, he was a guy named Mr. Saki.
Yeah. But the Samurai Brothers, of course, are the WWF tag team of the Orient Express, made up of Sato and Pat Tanaka at the time.
And unfortunately, our boys didn't take the fall, and they got canned.
Oh, yeah. So Shannon Tweed whispers to the promoter's ear about the made-up affair, and then Jesse and Roddy look over at the promoter, and then the promoter just gives the throat slash, meaning they're fired. Aww.
What are 2 unemployed wrestlers going to do?
I know, because apparently in this world there's not another wrestling federation to go to.
Well, everything was secondary to WWF back in the day.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, WCW fans, it wasn't WCW back in like 1990-91. wasn't exactly, Ted Turner wasn't spending the mucha De Niro back then, if you know what I mean.
No, he did not.
Yeah, he had to feed Teddy Jr.
So yeah, Billy and Rick are go back to their apartment, which is like in an old abandoned like building.
It's an old abandoned building with a newly refurbished hole in the wall.
Yeah, and it's got like one of those old timey elevators.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they're trying to find a job.
Well, how can you find a job if you're two unemployed wrestlers? How can you find a job in this economy in 1991?
Well, what type of jobs would you take? Well, what did they first do? They were piano movers.
Yes.
Remember when I said it had a newly refurbished hole in the wall?
Yeah.
Yeah, explain yourself.
There's your newly refurbished hole in the wall because they let go of the piano, crashes through a wall, lands on their moving truck.
Not only does it crash through the wall, it breaks some of the wood on the staircase, falls, crashes through a brick wall, and then the piano lands on the moving truck, causing an explosion.
And then their reaction to it.
Yes.
Which is right here.
Locked! On my back! It's locked! Look out!
Rick? Yeah? I think we body slammed the truck. Yeah.
So being a piano mover didn't work out. So what did the pair do? They decided to become human punching bags, essentially, at a self-defense course. And they had women beating the crap out of them. Even old women, and they're wearing football helmets and shoulder pads, football pads, the whole 9 yards, and they're just getting the stink beat out of them by a bunch of old ladies and housewives. Oh, and we should note the instructor at this course was played by Kathy Kinney, who would later go on to play Mimi on the show, The Drew Carey Show.
Yes.
Nice.
That was a glorious scene.
That was not as glorious as the scene that came next.
Oh.
So, our boys, they're in the grocers. They have no idea what to do with the rest of their lives. They witness a robbery. And after Rick decides he's going to give our robber a cold, hard taste of street justice, I believe the clip is either you leave her alone or I'm going to separate your head from the rest of your body. And again, this is one of those times where we wish this was a video podcast because I enjoyed that ass whooping.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much to talk about this because, well, first off, did you notice that Jesse Ventura's character, he's going through the produce section and he grabs a whole box, a whole crate of grapes and just starts eating them?
Yes.
Okay, theft. Hello, theft.
Well, they established in the previous scene when they were in the apartment that Jesse's character loves to eat grapes because he's throwing a bunch of grapes into his mouth while he's laying down on the bed.
Well, pay for the grapes, though. That's no cop.
True.
Yeah, we don't need any dishonest cops out there. But also, this robbery, it wasn't being done by one person. It was being done by what appeared to be 5 or 6 different people. You had people coming in after Jesse the Body Ventura and Roddy Piper's characters beat up the main robber. But then after he gets finished, you have 2 or 3 more people come in. And then you have like 2 or three more people saying, hey, come on, let's get out of here before the cops show up. Do you really need like a gang of like 5 or 6 or 7 people to rob a grocery store?
I remember back in my day, you only need one person with a big set of bollocks.
And just the acting and wrestling moves here, oh my gosh, it just looked so fake. It's like the tip of the iceberg in terms of wrestling references and wrestling moves because, well, they're wrestlers and apparently that's how they survive.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So the best part is how they end up stopping the robbers. So Billy goes to Rick and he whispers, do you remember the high flyers? And Rick's like, yeah. So they put, which is, by the way, guys, the high flyers is a reference to a tag team in the AWA, one of several wrestling Easter egg references in this pilot. So Billy and Rick, they push a cart full of recycled cans, and the cart crashes into the recycled cans, causing a giant mess.
That was something. How many cans did people go through in that era?
Judging by that clip, a lot.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at that recycling center booth or whatever you want to call it, I mean, that's about the size of maybe 2 cars.
Remember, Mike, this was 1990 and everybody was all up in their recycling.
Oh, I get that, but I've never seen a recycling bin that big. I mean, seriously, that's like the size of a small bedroom.
We used to have a recycling bin at least that big, maybe even bigger, outside our fire department.
Okay, I've never seen anything that big, and also, it's not like empty or half empty. It's filled to the rim. Somebody needs to pick up that recycling.
But the takeaway is, well, too bad you guys aren't cops. Dude, we should be cops.
Yeah. And that's where we go into the first commercial break. Oh, by the way, the commercials have been left in this pilot episode, and damn it, we're going to talk about the commercials on this pilot episode. There's a commercial for a wrap for McDonald's new grilled steak sandwich.
I don't know, Greg. It's no McRib.
No, that's a bootleg McRib. Get out of here, McDonald's grilled steak sandwich. You're going nowhere. Also,
it was a thing in the fast food restaurants.
With the McPizza. We also have a commercial for Kellogg's Frosted Flakes with Congressman, quote-unquote, Dick, talking about how I'm an adult and I'm ashamed to eat Frosted Flakes. Don't worry, Dick. It's going to be okay. In a couple of years, it's going to be so fashionable for adults to eat Frosted Flakes. So don't worry about it.
They're going to frost it with honey and nuts, man.
Yep.
We got you.
And we got a Sandy Duncan Wheat Thins ad.
Wait, hold on. Before that, and then 30 years later, Greg?
Yeah.
Does Tony the Tiger end up eating Carol Baskin's husband?
Boo!
Bravo, Joe Exotic.
I had to get a Tiger King reference in there. Oh, by the way, future installment Tiger King.
Yeah, you damn right we're going to talk about Tiger King. We're going to talk about the whole damn series, okay? Everything. It's a train wreck, and damn it, we're going to cover it.
And then you're saying about Sandy Duncan.
Oh yeah, the Sandy Duncan Wheat Thins ad. Those were like a staple back in the day.
Yes, they were.
Love me some Wheat Thins, man.
Oh, same here. Wheat Thins and Triscuits, baby.
Yep.
But then we get back to the show, and our boys, they're in basic training.
Yep.
And their instructor, one tough son of a gun, she's telling them only half of you are going to survive. So take a look to your left and take a look to your right. One of those people is not going to make it. and she's tough as nails.
Yep.
She looks tough as nails.
So
She gives no quarter, and she takes no quarter.
Oh yeah, she tells our recruits to start stretching because they're going to go on a 5-mile run, and somebody, one of the fellow recruits who actually ends up playing a key role later on in the episode, he's not stretching. He's talking to our boys, and he gets reamed by the instructor.
Yeah. Poor Tyler. He's got to take a bunch of push-ups.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he should have been stretching instead of running his mouth.
Yeah.
But still, it helps to have a guy like Tyler in your corner, or in your cut, as the kids would say.
Indeed.
This is the rest of the show.
Yeah. Tyler was kind of like the Virgil of this show. He brought everything all together.
Except he didn't go to the Olive Garden afterwards.
Yeah.
By the way, Ray Tyler, played by Phil Lewis, noted producer and actor. Is Angel from Hell on the list?
Doesn't ring a bell.
All right, then it's on the list. Oh, and by the way, I should mention the lieutenant is played by Robin Curtis, who would be best known for playing Savick in Star Trek 3 and 4. And guys, I hope you're sitting down. But this wouldn't be the last time she acted with a wrestler.
Oh?
Oh, because she was in Santa with Muscles with Hulk Hogan!
Oh, no. That's one for our Patreon podcast. It was a thing at the theater.
No, it was a thing at the movies. That's right, folks. When you get your $5 donations for that or spin-off podcast, whenever we do that, that's going to be the first damn thing we're going to cover.
By the way, for the record, Phil Lewis was also on the long-running Disney show, The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
Oh, and also, Greg is not joking about that. That will be the first movie we cover if we ever do a movie podcast.
Tyler was Mr. Mosby on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
Yep.
Oh my God, I can't believe that. Which also means, hold up, do you think that means that Phil Lewis had an interaction with Tom Poston on the set of The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody?
Possibly.
Huh? They become cops, so now we get into the driving force of the episode, into the real plot of the episode.
You mean there wasn't a plot up until this point?
I'm not saying anything.
So we have Rita, who works at an animal shelter, and she's walking about a dozen dogs. I would say about maybe about 8 or 9 dogs, maybe 10 on her route, when one of the dogs just runs away and goes into her parking garage. Now, Mike, I know you had something to say about this.
Why is a dog going into a parking garage? The dog actually goes down like 2 or 3 flights of steps. That just doesn't make any sense to me. But it does play a pivotal role in this whole episode.
Yes.
By the way, Rita, played by fake Cindy Jennifer Runyon.
From the first season of Charles in Charge, which means she acted alongside Jamie Widows, which once again proves everything comes back to Match Game Hollywood Squares.
Yep.
So Rita finds the dog, but oh my God, we have some trouble brewing afoot in this parking garage.
Oh boy.
So the trouble that's brewing is we have 2 people who are gunned down, and Rita is the sole witness to this, and they obviously want to kill her because she's got evidence saying, I saw these guys being gunned down.
Hashtag no witnesses.
And after she sees the double murder happening, we cut back to the boys at basic training, specifically at the obstacle course.
Yup. And they're doing their obstacle course thing. I mean, they'd be impressive if they were doing the double dare obstacle course, let me tell you. And they say that this is a piece of cake. All they got to do is pace themselves. But, oh my God, that Sneak Tyler, he's taking the rope from them. Oh no, so what are they going to do now? They can't climb up. But Billy says to Rick, remember the Rocker's aerial attack. So Rick jumps on top of Billy, who pushes him onto the top. Rick stretches his arm, Billy grabs it, and they both go over the wall. Impressive.
Like, moral of the story, don't tell Piper and Jesse they can't do anything.
Well, but the ultimate revenge comes later in the obstacle course, because as they get to a water obstacle, the two of them pick up Tyler and throw him into the water.
Yes.
Tyler ends up in the drink, and our boys finish the obstacle course and then go to a firing range.
And then they have to study for the academic portion of the academy. Yes, police officers had to take tests about book learning once upon a time.
I wonder if they decided to use some of the mnemonics that were taught by TV Funhouse.
That's a good question, Mike.
Yeah. But
yeah,
Rick...
it's a good way of memorizing stuff, those mnemonics.
Yes. So Rick's having trouble studying for the test, but Billy says it's all so simple. Just think of it like wrestling. So Rick has a lot of knowledge about wrestling. There's even like a name drop to Giant Baba, which is very impressive. Another great wrestling Easter egg.
Oh no, my favorite was Haystacks Calhoun.
Oh yeah, Haystacks Calhoun. That was great.
But also, it would have been like super meta if they mentioned Jesse the Body Ventura and Rowdy Roddy Piper as their favorite wrestlers.
Yeah. Well, the best part is they name who are the three most popular wrestlers at the time, and Rick mentions Hogan, Warrior, and Jake the Snake, which, hey, those were pretty much the three most popular wrestlers in the WWF back in 1990-91.
True.
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
So they take the test, and Billy and Rick pass, and they get their badges from Lieutenant Steckler, and it's a great moment, as now both Billy and Rick have become cops, and now they're on the force.
Yay! Too bad he's gonna have to stitch his sleeve back on.
Oh yeah.
I was just gonna mention that.
Oh, that was so great. Jesse's sleeve got ripped, and he's probably only had that uniform for what, 5 minutes?
Well, he's gonna have to pay for it now.
Yeah.
There goes his first paycheck.
Yep. So now the criminals, they're after Rita. They want to put a hit out on her. They want no witnesses whatsoever.
Yep.
And meanwhile, the boys are starting their first day on the job, and they're teamed up with two other undercover cops, and their job is to protect Rita. And they're told pretty much, don't do anything stupid. You're sort of just there to monitor and witness what's going on.
Where's the fun in that?
Yeah.
Well, you got to learn how to crawl before you can walk.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But then we hit the second batch of commercials.
Dexatrim, the halls of medicines, and Rolaids giving Tums what for.
We also have an ad for the American Music Awards,
which were happening that Monday night, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The 18th Annual American Music Awards.
Produced by Dick Clark Productions.
We also got a promo for this week with David Brinkley, talking about the Gulf War. After that ad for this week with David Brinkley, we have an ad for Norwegian Cruise Line with Larry Zonka.
This is
Pre-American
like
Gladiators.
Yeah, this is like nine months before American Gladiators.
Yeah. But the funny part is he gets pushed into a pool, and there's an instant replay of him getting pushed into the pool.
Let's go to the orchestrator on that.
Yeah. Oh, it's so great that we now have American Gladiators on Pluto TV, I just want to say.
Except for season 6. Talk about running one season too long. By the way, future installment shows that ran one season too long.
Yeah.
And also they show the 2008 American Gladiators. Oh, by the way, also a future installment.
Yes, brother.
Our boys are looking after that hot chick from Ghostbusters that isn't Sigourney Weaver.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
I forgot she was in Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill Murray tries to hit on her. Yeah.
Because Bill Murray.
Yeah.
They're looking at her, and now I guess they're waiting for the hitmen to show up because, oh look, they're the hitmen right now. That's not good.
No. So they decide to take out the mailman. And so...
Oh boy. And of course, because this is 1990, the hitmen arrive in what looks like a Dodge Ram van with no windows. The kind Matt Foley lives in by the river. I don't know. So, seeing the hitmen, Rick and Bobby decide, hey, want to do some street justice? Let's do some street justice. So, all that firearms training, guess what they do? Literally pull the carpet out from under the bad guy's feet and then throw him out the window.
Ooh.
Boy, sounds like a wrestling move.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, 1 year before Shawn Michaels throws Marty Jannetty through the barbershop window in WF Superstars, or was it Marty jumping out of the window? I don't know.
It was one of those two. I remember that. I remember Shawn Michaels turning heel on his partner.
Yeah, which thankfully doesn't happen in this episode. Sorry to ruin the vital 20 minutes of this episode, folks. They throw bad guy through the window, but unfortunately, guys, Rita has also jumped out of the window and she's on the run. And so Billy and Rick, they're in some hot you-know-what over the fact that the only witness to this murder is now missing. So what are they going to do? They've now been suspended for the force for failing to protect the witness. So now what are they going to do?
Go back to moving pianos?
Go back to being human tackling dummies?
But before we can find out what they're going to do, we have to go into our third commercial break, guys. So we have an ad for Lipton onion soup recipe.
It's delicious.
Yes. We have, it's delicious. Garlic powder as seasoning, which you have an ad for here. And then you have another ad for cough medicine. Is those
try a minute cough medicine?
Oh, yeah,
not delicious.
No,
well,
it's
no,
not.
Well, you know how you could make it delicious? That Lowry's garlic powder, maybe. But also in that Lowry's garlic powder ad, was that Sherry Belafonte?
Maybe?
Perhaps.
Looks like it.
And then we have a bunch of people visiting the dentist. Must be for Crest.
Yes, it is for Crest. It's the dentist's choice, and it's ADA approved, which means it's good for Kevin McAllister.
Yep. 4 out of 5 dentists recommends Crest. The 5th one is an idiot.
Yeah. We also have an ad for Domino's Pizza. They got a 30-cent special.
Remember when you can get a pizza for 30 cents?
You're still paying too much for Domino's Pizza at that price. Yeah, I said it. Come after me.
But we also get a promo for after the Super Bowl the following night for Future installment, Mike. Davis
yes.
rules.
Davis rules, yes. That's going to be another fun one.
Yep.
Okay, so we're back from the commercial break. Billy and Rick are in the bathroom of the police station. So they're wondering what we're gonna do now. We've now been suspended from the force. Our wrestling career's over. What are we gonna do now?
Wait a minute. Deus Ex Machina, in effect. They needed a place to belong. Well, Rita needed a place to belong, too. Hold on. I know where Rita is. Again.
Oh.
Again. Roddy Piper. Not just muscles.
Yeah, he had brains, too. So now they reunite with Tyler. And so they decide to take his car for a ride.
Oh, did they ever?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's an undercover car, but they figure, we're not technically on the job anymore, so it's on you, Tyler. So Jesse's just driving through traffic like a reckless madman, avoiding getting in accidents. He's swerving left and right, and he makes an amazing parallel park.
Is the Blues Brothers amazing?
Yeah, it is Blues Brothers amazing. They make a parallel park right into the central animal shelter where Rita is.
Okay, so Rita's there. She apologizes for running away, and well, because they are who they are, they totally get it. But then again, freaking Jennifer Runyon, you're gonna actually tell her that she's stupid? Never mind that she was, but anyway.
Yeah, but now there's a time constraint because they need to get her to the courthouse. And I think they had like a time limit of, I think, an hour to get her to the courthouse, or else, what was it, like charges had to be dropped or something like that?
Yes,
sounds about right.
Yeah, the charges would be dropped if she wasn't in the courthouse by a certain time.
And wouldn't you know it, they got to the courthouse, and then what happens? Here comes that van again, and they're there to take out Rita and the guys and Tyler.
Uh-oh. Here come the guys.
And then we have the best action scene of the night.
A couple headbutts, a few roundhouse kicks, Tyler with a gun.
Yes.
Only firearm being used on the show, and it's the guy from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
But also the first move off the top rope, essentially off the ceiling of the building. Yeah, that was like the first move. That was great.
That was the chef's kiss right there.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it was a great high spot. So after Rick gives a big back body drop to one of the baddies, Billy's in a rut. He's stuck beneath a tree as a bad guy is holding a pole to his neck. And Billy says, "Rick!" And he reaches out his hand. And Rick slaps his hand to give the hot tag. Symbolism, like in a wrestling match.
Now we know where the show got its name.
Yes. Babyface in peril. Hot tag. And so Billy and Rick, they take care of the remaining baddie, and then they throw him straight into the fountain.
Game over. Wrestlers win.
Yeah. And then Tyler comes out and says, "We bad." Like, oh, Tyler. And then there's a situation. They got to get Rita to the courthouse, but someone's got to cuff him. So Billy and Rick leave it up to Tyler to do the cuffing.
And they get Rita to the courthouse. And who did they run into? Steckler. See what I did there, kids?
Yeah.
Another set of commercials.
So then we get an ad for oatmeal crisp and oatmeal raisin crisp.
You remember Oatmeal Raisin Crisp?
Yeah, no. That'll be covered in It Was a Thing at the Breakfast Table.
Remember sugar-free Dentine?
No, I don't remember sugar-free Dentine.
Jeez, guys, how many spin-off podcasts are we going to have? It was a thing at the movies. It was a thing at the breakfast table. It was a sugar-free gum. Jeez. There's only so much space we can use, guys.
We got another ad for the McDonald's grilled steak sandwich. Man, speaking of wrestling terms, they were really over-pushing this grilled steak sandwich.
I know, right?
I wonder if anybody, if Usted had like fast food forms, if everyone was bitching about, oh my god, I can't believe McDonald's are over-pushing this grilled steak sandwich down our throats.
It was the thing at the fast food restaurant.
And we have Raisinets. They're delicious. And Tide with Bleach. Not delicious.
No.
Then we get a preview of what's coming up on Sunday on ABC Sports. We get the Senior Skins game. Not just the Skins game, the Senior Skins game at 1:30, followed by, at 4 o'clock, the Super Bowl 25 pregame show. Only 2 hours of pregame? Because then at 6 we have the big game between the Buffalo Bills, led by Thurman Thomas and Jim Kelly, going against the New York Giants, led by Otis Anderson and Jeff Hostetler. Who's going to win this? Will it come down to one final kick by Scott Norwood? Will he make it? Will he make it?
Spoilers, he did not make it.
So now we have the epilogue. Our girl Rita is treated to our boys topless, and Rita has a bit of a surprise for them. It's a dog!
Aww!
It was the dog that they saw at the animal shelter when they went to visit her.
Yep.
They were playing with the dog and obviously ended up falling in love with him, and they ended up getting him.
Oh, that's sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And they call it Puppy Love.
Well, it's better than Puppish Love.
Ooh, call back to the last episode. Well done.
Thank you. And that was Tag Team. Had everything a wrestling fan in the early 90s could possibly ask for. And more. But unfortunately, it was not picked up, and it wasn't for lack of being good. And Greg, I think you have the story on that.
Yes, according to Jesse Ventura, the show was originally guaranteed a 13-episode run. But Caraco Pictures and Disney, who co-produced the show, were in a lawsuit unrelated to the show. So the show was put on the back burner while the lawsuit was ongoing, and the project was abandoned. It was actually very, very close to going to series, but the production was called off the day before the fall schedule was announced for ABC in 1990.
Sad, really.
Yes.
This show wouldn't have lasted more than 13 episodes, though.
No, it wouldn't.
What 13 episodes they could have been.
It may not even gotten to 13. This show was so corny. It checked off like every box of like a cop show TV trope.
It also checked off every wrestling trope. Well, not every trope, but the big ones. You could definitely tell that the big ones were ticked off.
Well, guys, before we sign off, we got to play a game of eBay Price is Right.
Oh boy, here we go.
All right. So what we have here on eBay is an actual VHS copy. This is a recorded VHS copy of the pilot for Tag Team. It even has like one of those vintage early 90s VHS labels written in like some Sharpie, tag team, Roddy Piper and Jesse Ventura. So do you want to guess what this VHS tape of a recording of the tag team pilot costs on eBay?
I defer to Chico because I'm going to screw Chico over like Chico screwed you over on the last episode.
Okay, go ahead, Chico.
82 cents.
Mike?
You know, I'm not going to give Chico a penny window, and I'm not going to give him a dollar window. I'll give him more than a dollar window. $2. Enjoy your $1.17 window, sucker.
All right, guys, I hope you're sitting down. This is the buy it now price for it. Are you ready?
Oh, no, I'm having second thoughts already. It's probably, okay, just say it. And
What is it? What is it, Greg?
$17.99.
Are you kidding me?
No.
People are going to pay $17 for the tape off broadcast of a pilot for a TV show that did not get ordered to series, but they could watch it for free on YouTube. I mean, come on. Talk about a job.
A fool and his money are soon parted.
That was an inside wrestling reference that Chico made, folks.
You're welcome.
Yes. Thank you, Perry Saturn.
So one more thing I want to add before we go, guys, and I mentioned this earlier in the episode. We were talking about the Lizard Brothers, their former wrestling name, which was mentioned in the first minute or two of the show. At the end of the episode, they show a montage of pictures of their career and their lives, ultimately ending up on a picture of the two in their police uniforms doing sort of the buddy cop back-to-back thing.
Yeah.
Well, as they panned into that photo, you saw a picture of the two of them as the Lizard Brothers.
Yes.
Nice.
So tag team. You had the majesty of pro wrestling combined with cop shows. It was a perfect marriage, but unfortunately, we never got a series out of it. But thankfully, the people of ABC decided, you know what? Maybe we don't want to see on Saturday night, January 26, 1991, Ben Horn be insane on Twin Peaks and thinking he's in the Civil War. No. People need to watch Roddy Piper and Jesse Ventura kick some ass on a Saturday night. And thank God the good folks at ABC decided to give us this.
Yeah. Tag team with Roddy Piper and Jesse Ventura. Thank the good Lord above. It was a thing on TV.
And it was the 50th episode of this podcast. So fitting. Yes. A round of applause. Yes.
I can't believe we did it, folks. Guys, we made it to 50 episodes.
And you know what? We couldn't have done it without you listening out there.
And you know what that also means? 50 episodes away from number 100, baby.
What?
Oh, my God. We'll be hitting that syndication money soon enough.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be making all that sweet Keeps affiliate money. We're going to be selling boner pills left and right.
Yeah, we're gonna get ads for Blue Chew because it's done wonders for all of Conrad Thompson's podcasts. Let me tell you.
Oh, jeez.
And you can do all that with the special code. It was a thing on TV. That's right, the whole thing. Put in code. It was a thing on TV, and you'll get 10% off and a special super purple pill, which will give you the biggest boner you've seen in your life since watching this episode of Tag Team.
Hello, Nacho Supreme.
Damn right, hello, Nacho Supreme.
Oh, what can I say except it was a thing on TV. For all of our socials, past episodes, find out more about the show, more about us. Remember, like and subscribe, rate and review, and don't forget to share because sharing is caring.
And also don't forget every Wednesday over on the Place to Be Nation pop feed, We have 3 of our past episodes going up one by one. And the latest drop, which was today, is episodes 42 through 44, which is the Dana Carvey Show, Hulk Hogan commercials, and Comedy Central's TV Funhouse. So they're nearly caught up, guys, at the time of recording.
Yeah, because 45, I believe, was Rip Taylor in Time, so they're going to be caught up in the next, 2 or 3 weeks, I think.
Yeah, we got to make oh my God, we got to explain to the audience at Place to Be Nation, but well, they probably already heard it by now, when we're up to 50. But yeah, we got to explain Rip Taylor in Time to them, since it's not April 1st anymore, so...
It's in the description of the episode. I did update it to let people know that after April 1st, it was an April Fool's joke.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, again, the website is itwasthathingontv.com. Now we have over 50 episodes there, because this is episode 51 in actuality, because we had a preview episode. So we've got plenty of listening and plenty of episodes you can go back and listen to. And then there's more to come, including next week. Oh, next week.
Mm-hmm. We could. Well, what are we doing?
Next week we have another pilot, just one pilot next week, because we're doing another 2 to 3 weeks worth of pilots. But also we have a timely episode. We're not going to tell you why it's timely, but this episode, it's so perfect in so many ways. Even the submission number is perfect.
What's the submission number?
I'm not telling you, because that's going to give it away.
Mm-hmm.
But oh my gosh, the submission number matches the title of the show, matches the timeliness of the episode perfectly. It's a thing of beauty. This is one of those happy coincidences which works out so nicely. But that's next week. So for now, speaking for Chico and speaking for Greg, I'm Mike. Thank you again for listening. Don't forget, like and subscribe, rate and review, do all that good stuff. And we'll see you next time on the start of the next 50 episodes of It Was a Thing on TV.
Wow! Tag team.